Hello everyone, thank you for meeting here today. On this day we're going to take the opportunity to discuss our proposal for a new advanced augmented reality mobile game titled Grid Runners. Our development team here is Team Dagger, and we've prepared a little presentation for you to get a feel of the title that we would like to develop, the general tone of the game, and what you can expect from us in the future. Naturally, the first thing that we're going to want to be discussing is the story to Grid Runners. The year is 2023, and everyone's personal information and DNA is known by the government and is used freely as they wish. No one can hide from the grid. Crime rates have dropped to nearly 0%, but is it worth the price of personal privacy? In the future, people have found a way to travel back in time and destroy the grid. These people are known as Grid Runners. Grid Runners know vital information that the people of our current time do not. The information that they possess may be detrimental to the grid's wishes or its plans for a supposed utopian future. The Immigration Special Investigation Unit, or ISIU, has full authority to capture any Grid Runner that they detect by the grid as an anomaly. You never know who will show up on the grid. It may even be you. Players will divide themselves amongst one of two factions, the first of which, of course, being the Grid Runners themselves. Grid Runners are the embodiment of a revolution built on the backs of the people. Grid Runners are sent back in time to stop the growth of the grid and hinder the capabilities of the ISIU in capturing their fellow Grid Runners. When Grid Runners travel back in time, they have added knowledge of the time period they are going back to. With this added knowledge, they can know when big events happen or where specific people will be at a given point in time. They can use this information to get a jump on the ISIU detectives. As a Grid Runner, you are tasked with alluring the detectives, sabotaging the grid, and gathering as much information as possible. The second of these playable factions is the Immigration Special Investigation Unit, or ISIU, detectives. ISIU is a special branch of immigration, tasked with finding Grid Runners and detaining them. Their job is important to the grid, and they must go to incredible lengths to hide the origin of their prey. They are given the most modern weapons and technology that the government can attain, with the sole purpose of defending the grid and their modern way of life. If the origin of the Grid Runner is leaked to the public, chaos can and will be the herald of destruction for a modern society. For the safety of the grid and the public, the ISIU must keep all of their actions confidential and away from the peering eyes of the people. Grid Runners is a virtual game of tag mixed with cat and mouse. The gameplay will consist of players physically locating each other with the GPS tracking component of their phone. Once an ISIU detective has located a Grid Runner, they must be within 50 meters to start a combat sequence. Combat will play out in a turn-based styles, similar to other role-playing games, that allow players to fight or defend themselves in real time. Once a battle is over, the winning player will be rewarded, while the loser will be set to inactive for a set period of time based on their player level. The game will have daily and weekly events that all players can participate in. Each player can create a hideout for themselves where no one can track or attack them. Players can create groups and organizations to increase the gameplay experience. Each group and organization can create a hideout where all members can meet. The hideout can be a physical location on the map, and players can gain access to it by either physically being at the location or being at their own hideout. There will be locations where players can hack into parts of the grid to obtain information, loot, items, and increase their own skills. Each location will need a specific hacking level to gain access. As mentioned earlier, players are assigned to one of two groups or teams. First are Grid Runners. Grid Runners must explore their physical area in order to complete story-based objectives. Runners may also have to meet with other runners in order to pass off items and information, all while avoiding capture. If a runner is caught by a detective, their current mission fails, and they are unable to participate in the game for a set period of time, based on their current level. The second playable faction are the detectives. At the start of each day, a detective is assigned a target which they must pursue in order to gain experience, advance their level, and collect special items. If a detective is able to successfully capture a Grid Runner, They will gain experience points based on their difference between their level and the respective runners. Audio will be a driving force for establishing tone in this game. We on Team Dagger want the player to feel as though they are truly in the moment, no matter where they physically may be. The music in this game will be a collection of techno-style music that will change depending on the situation. Techno music will help give the player the feeling of a more futuristic surrounding. The player will also have the option of importing playlists from their phone. Other sounds will include clicking when using menu buttons, sharp slashing sounds after being hit with an attack, swooping sounds for menu transitions, and other appropriate uses for any attack a player may select during combat. In fact, you've been listening to some of this game's inspiration for its score throughout the duration of this presentation. Grid Runners is a unique game in that it will allow players to create a character that they wish. This is done through the use of stats. Stats are the basic mental and physical attributes that dictate the character's abilities. The 6 key stats are as follows. Mind. This stat will dictate how quickly the character will be able to spot oncoming trouble or locate items. Body. This stat will be the primary stat for physical activities such as escaping and close combat. Skill. This stat will affect the character's ability to perform long-ranged attacks and can offer them the chance to disappear into crowds. Luck. This stat will have a very minor effect on all abilities and could, possibly, help the player find better loot. Let's face it, some people are just born lucky. Hacking. This stat will allow players to hack into specific locations where they can obtain vital information or valuable loot. The locations will require a certain hacking skill level. Stealth. This stat will allow players to increase their ability and not be seen by others. The higher the stealth level, the closer the other players need to be to start the combat sequence. Groups can be created via website or the in-game interface and can be linked with other social media accounts. For example, sites like Facebook and Google Plus may be used due to their strong social media systems. Players may opt to use services such as this to convey key plot-crucial information in order to solve puzzles or complete missions within their own teams. Group leaders have access to advanced group settings. For example, group leaders can create private sessions, edit various group information, and leave messages to the rest of the members. Public groups will also allow players to create personal contacts and connect with other players. Individual runner hideouts will be set by the player to use their house as a safe point from detectives. Once the player enters their individual player hideout zone, they will not be able to be attacked while they are within that zone. At the same time, they will not be able to take any action upon the outside world while they are within their individual hideout. The most important thing that a player can do while in their hideout is access their group hideout if they have joined a group organization. The only other way to access their group organization would be to go to the physical location where the group hideout is located. Multiple group hideouts can be located in the same region, but runners will only be able to benefit and access the group hideout that they belong to. While accessing these group hideouts, runners will have access to the black market where they can buy specialized items. The combat menu will consist of attack, defense, item, and escape actions. Each button has a submenu that will correlate to the player's skills, stats, or abilities. Player combat will be heavily dictated by stats and gear that they acquire while playing and leveling up. The vast majority of Grid Runners gameplay will take place based on the user interface and artwork found on their phones. The interface is designed to have a clean, futuristic style that allows players to feel more immersed within the futuristic world that we are creating. Players will be able to change the size and color of many UI elements, with the UI being able to switch between portrait and landscape within a smart device. Players will also have customizable color options, as well as health bars that are displayed via flickering colors and digital cracks embedded on the screen. Seen below is a mock-up of the current user interface we have in place. There are 4 tabs that are able to be accessed by the player via swiping to each cardinal direction of the menu. On display, you will see at the edges of the screen there is a map tab, an inventory tab, a tasks tab, and a social media or grid tab in which a player may access their profile. This is done again by swiping in the given direction and then swiping back to access a tab that they wish to be on. Currently we can see a display of the map tab showing some points of interest via Google Maps. GPS functionality is at the heart of this title. It will track each player when they are playing the game, and it will allow them to notify players of different events or hacking points in the area. GPS will use a Google Maps type mapping software that will allow each player to see their location, as well as those of others in real time. Much of the title's core gameplay revolves around the ability to pull the location of a player, given the GPS tracking component of a mobile device used to play the game. This allows much of the title's interactions to take place within the physical world in real time, based on the current location and immediate area. The GPS will be used in order to approach other players, collect items, and track movement. Players walk around their city and town to receive rewards and bonuses. Distance traveled is tracked, and rewards are received based by reaching these movement milestones. Key locations marked on the map are treated as loot points. If a player goes to these locations, they will receive items, in addition to advancing the story. Gear pieces are simply items the player is able to loot from defeated players and drop zones that will have a positive effect on the player's stats. Gear will offer players the chance to further customize their playstyle. In social media, runners' profiles can't be seen by detectives, and vice versa. Players can converse and share information with members of their current faction. Players will be able to use social media to share the locations of group hideouts and the locations of runners and detectives. This will enable entire cities to easily get together and plan out strategies for the next big event. Lastly, we intend for the game to be free to play initially, with microtransaction-based improvements being available later on. Free upgrades can be used for grid runners such as cloaking equipment and stealth detection. Upgrades can also be used to increase grid access and receive more information regarding gear drop zones. All upgrades are accessible if a player is willing to commit enough time to the game, though microtransactions can be used to further their goals. Upgrades and resources can also be earned by completing objectives, reaching daily login bonuses, and completing date milestones, such as playing the game continuously for 100 to 200 days, completing quests, delivering bounties, purchased using in-game resources, or earned by going out on the grill and discovering items. We are confident in our product and believe that grid runners can truly revolutionize the realm of augmented reality games. We feel that we have created a new core gameplay component that can truly inspire new levels of creativity and enjoyment. That's all that we have for our presentation. If you would like, we do have reference slides available here. And again, thank you for taking the time to listen.